So I wanted to showcase the color correction with the Demi edit, which I have done before. It was a little bit of a longer video as the hybrid method. So here's my Demi edit, and I'm also going to be incorporating the 3D foundation so I could show you the color correction, but I'm going to be doing it a lot more succinct this time. So for the hybrid method, I start with my face actually. So when you've seen me do before, when I do the 3D foundation, I always go on my under eyes, but I'm actually going to be color correcting with the Demi on my under eyes. So I always do that after the face foundation. So like I said before, this stuff is so customizable that you do it the way that you want to do it. You're going to do different techniques and stuff like that, and you're going to see what works best for you and what kind of coverage and finish that you want. I always start on my cheeks because that's where I have that acne scars, and I feel like it also fills in a little bit of the texture. So on my forehead, I don't get too crazy because then I'm also going to do the contour here, which our contour is also foundational coverage, and anything that's left, I migrate around my nose so I don't have like too much of a cakey appearance on my nose. So most of it is back here. I concentrate the foundation and then move it around. Now for the contour, I'm going to use the broader side because I like to use this as kind of like my contour slash bronzer, and any discoloration or like a pimple that I have up here, this is foundational coverage with the contour. So this also really helps to cover. And then up here on my forehead, I just do a little bit of this contour because I'm also going to use bronzer, which I absolutely love to warm up the face. And I'll do that at the end after my Demi correction. And then under my chin. And I don't need to use too much, but it still gives me like some definition and a little bit of color, so it creates depth, so I'm not like all one flat color. So at this point, this is when I incorporate my Demi edit. This is my edit for the under eye. So it is a curation of different pigments for my skin tone to color correct and cancel out the blues and the browns and all that I have going on here. The first color that I always use is 03. This is orange level 3, and that combats blues, a little bit of purples too. So for me, I always start with this bright brush because it gives a little bit more of a wash of color, and this is the brush that is a little fluffier. It's got this little dome end and the super fluffy end for tapping and blending out. I'm gonna go into that 03 here, just a couple of taps to get a little bit of product on the brush, and then start to apply directly. And this is the super, you could see like that darkness that I have here. I'm also gonna take a look in the mirror so I can make sure that I've got the right area, because this is like pinpoint discoloration that we're doing. Even though this is a little bit broader of a brush, I still want to keep it on the color because you're always touching color to color. You can see just this half, it's a little bit brighter here, and then I've got this super dark corner all the time. So this is where I kind of go and tap and swirl my brush, and it just goes right on this little blue dark area here. It's like a bluish purple. So that really cancels that out. And then I'll go on the outer corner here because I have this really dark discoloration and I have some blues, but there's also a little bit of brownish in here. So at the very end, I go on top with like a little bit of the pink, the reds, R01, and that cancels out any greens, which are actually the inherent color of the brown spots. And you'll see that this is a little bit darker, but I'm gonna wisp some color there. I don't necessarily have to do like a concentration of color. And I'm gonna do my eyelids now. So I will go back into that 03 here with the fluffy end, the super fluffy end, because I'll do the entire eyelid, and you can see the difference between the two. So this is the one that was color corrected before with the 03. And then this kind of cancels out any of that veining that I have up there. And it's also very light coverage. So this literally just wisps the color on here because they behave like a wax, these Demi colors. And then at this point, if you wanted to, because you could powder these, but I don't get too crazy with the powder anywhere, you know, just on my eyelids, but you could powder anywhere on your face with a very light dusting, a very light vellus powder like what we have. We do have the vanilla dust setting powder, and I have it in here actually. So I'll use the bunny tail end of my 3D brush and just take a little bit of that and cover my eye area. And what's so great about these brushes too, because of course generally you don't want to be going into powders and creams, but with this, if I take a little napkin and just kind of dust off any excess. It'll remove any of the powder. So then that way, when I go back into a cream, I'm not like, I don't feel like I'm mixing all this stuff together. You could even see, even like after I use my contour and stuff, the color doesn't even come off on the napkin because, like I've said a million times before, these brushes are designed for this cream makeup in general, but obviously with our cream makeup, and it just floats on the tip of the bristles. So then when you're depositing onto your skin, it comes right off, and that's why we can go color to color and not have like a big old mess on our face. Back to the Demi. All right, so now what I'm going to do, because you see I have this like darker area here, but it's not as dark as everywhere else was. So this 01, which is a lighter version of this 03, because it goes by levels. The higher the number, the deeper the pigment in each pan. So the 01 is a little bit brighter, so it's great for brightening and highlighting. And I'll just take like a couple of taps on the wispy end, and I just kind of go on the outside like so. And then it even gives like a bit of a highlight on the cheek as well. And then a little bit underneath too. Okay, so now I'm way more brightened, but I have this indentation here. And this side, I used this trick. I always use the 01 because anything that's a highlight, that's bright, that we're highlighting, we're bringing forward, and anything that we want to recede, we use dark. That's the contour. So you can see like my cheekbones, you know, they look a little bit more lifted because I put this as a, you know, kind of enhancing the shadow that is already present in our face because our faces are three-dimensional. So what I like to do about this, I mean, I could only do so much. So when I'm looking straight on with someone, they really don't see it. Obviously, if I turn my head, then, you know, we're three-dimensional. So of course, like, you're going to see a little bit of dents and stuff, but they are minimized a lot, like with the color correction. But what I like to do with this is I actually brighten it and bring it forward as much as I possibly can with this 01. So I will tap in with the smaller side of my 01. And I did a really super close-up zoom of this, and it's in one of my shorts. So what I do here is I will go under the trough here, and then a little bit above it, and then like marry them together. And then go to the other side of my brush and tap it out. Could even come up a little bit on the sides of the nose here. And then with the other side, do a little tapping. So you can see that it brightens it up and it brings it forward slightly. There, that's a little bit better there. So obviously, like I said, the dent is not going to go away, but the color actually counteracts the discoloration that I have in it. So it looks brighter and minimized. So now I'm going to continue on with my 3D with the rest of the color. At this point, I go into my bronzer, which is my favorite, Bella bronzer, and then I have those two illuminators on the side. I had already done this side before, and I like to place my bronzer first, like where I want it to go. And then I also go down here. I did the other side of my neck here, so now I'm going to do the whole thing. And it really like helps to kind of warm your skin up, and slightly. You could build it, you know, make it a little bit darker even, but I like a very soft wash because what this does for me is just makes my skin all uniform, you know, as you start to get discolorations and whatnot. And this really helps. That's all I have to do. And then here and here, and then I just swirl with my brush. Now, I always recommend 2 brushes, and I have since changed with my recommendations. This one has not changed, the blush and bronzer, because of how this puts on the bronzer mostly, but also this other end is multi-purpose. You could use your blush with it. It applies blush beautifully. You could even blend out your foundation with this one. So this is a fantastic brush. But mostly I love it because of this side and how it marries everything together, and the bronzer placement is just like so effortless and gorgeous. Initially, when I started, my first recommendation was these 2 brushes because this is the detail brush. I still love this brush. I adore it. You could also do targeted placement of contour with this. You can do the sides of your nose contour, which I still haven't ventured into, but I will. You can go under your lip. You could do a lot with this. And this oblong shape here, it's flat and it's dense, and you could put on your main foundation as well. The other side has got this fluffy, wispy side. You could do targeted placement under eyes, on top of your eyes. You could even do highlighter. I mean, this is a fantastic brush. But I have since changed because now I've been having a love affair with this 3D brush. So I have been doing in the mornings my face, my entire look, even like eyeshadow, because I like to use these creams as eyeshadow with this brush. So now my recommendation is if you only want to get one brush to start, the 3D brush is what you get, because you could even do bronzer placement with this and it comes out pretty nice. And I've demonstrated that before. I'll do it again in another super short video, and you know, where you kind of buff it and it works really well. But I love this one for bronzer because of the wispiness and just the size of it and how it effortlessly like just places it, and it literally looks like sun-kissed. So that's why my two ride or die brushes now that I think everyone should start with are these two, the 3D and the blush and bronzer. In a perfect world, you get all these three. And then that is a great foundation for this makeup because you could do so much. But if you start with one brush, do this one, just you could do everything and then build your collection from there if you want. So that's my recommendation now, and I'm just loving this 3D brush. Oh my God. Okay, so back to my application. Now, at this point, I did my brightening, I did my bronzer. Some people like to do their brightening, I've said this a million times before too, after they do the color on their skin because they really like the super bright area. I like warmth on the side of my temples, so that's why I do my brightening first. So now I'm gonna go into the blush. Let me see what I'm gonna do. I always do this really simple, easy Frenchie. It's peachy, and for my skin tone, it works on a lot of skin tones, but for me, it works really well. So and it's very pigmented. So I always like my blush placement like really high. And then, like you guys have seen before, what I do is I'll put a little bit on the sides of my eyes here. Did it on this side too. And that way it just kind of like marries the colors together, and it kind of gives like a monochromatic look. And it's a very sheer color. I'm not putting like a huge glob of this cream up here. So I did have eye primer on initially because I do use my cream foundation to color correct and smooth everything out. But this time I did the Demi. And then when I put this on top, even though I have the powder underneath, because it's so like wispy light, it's not going to crease. And it just gives like a little stain. All right, so that is the blush. And then you could go back, and again, because this super fluffy end, you can go and marry everything together. And it just like kind of melds everything like so. All right, now let's do a little bit of Illuminator, and I'm going to do, I did rose gold on this side, so this is my rose gold. It's a very universal illuminator and works on light skin. The lighter the skin, I would say it's more like a blush topper. You can mix it with your blush to get like a glowy blush, but I would say this is like light to medium skin tones. Even like darker skin tones can use this, and it'll be a little bit more of a brightening pop. Obviously, we have different tones and different shades of illuminators and depth to them, you know, depending on your skin tone. So we would pick that depending on what your skin tone is. And then I'll just use that super fluffy side, and it just literally just melts everything together. I'm going to see what happens if I dot a little bit of this Frenchie on my lips, because, you know, I love the blotted lip look. And you would think that this would not be a color that would be suited for me. But if I put it on really light, not bad. Not bad. That just gave a super light hint of peach. So I could also mix it with something else if I want, because me personally, I actually like a little bit deeper of a lip. Let me see if I put a little. This is actually Heat Waves, because you could mix and match all of these. Okay, I like that better. I haven't done this yet. This is Heat Waves. This is Bella Bronzer, and that's Heat Waves. So that is a deeper bronzer for deeper skin tones. But you can use these and mix and match and adjust your colors. Well, okay. I like that a lot. And it feels like it's a little bit more on the dense side, so it is going to stay put. So I did have lip balm underneath. We do have balms that also go into your palettes. This is the Demi Balm, so it's a smaller square, and I put that on my lips first. You could even put it on top if you want, you know, just to kind of even thin it out. So it's really fun that you could like mix and match these colors, mix and match textures. The very last thing for me is setting spray. So I love the Seint setting spray. This gives a dewy finish. I love a dewy finish. Now, all depends on what kind of finish you want. If you want more of a matte finish, I always recommend different like super popular setting sprays on the market. Like the Charlotte Tilbury is a wonderful one for a matte finish that really holds your makeup, especially for people that have oilier skin. So that's the Airbrush Flawless Finish, I think. There's a Milk makeup one that leaves a dewy finish. I've used it before. I love it. Milk Hydro Grip Setting Mist. And but this one is really wonderful for the dewy finish. A lot of people don't like the nozzle on this, but I love it because I don't mind actually having a good generous mist on my skin. I feel like it actually works more because then it like melds together. But I mean, of course, I don't go super close up. I, you know, at least like 6 inches away or so. So I'll do a few spritzes of this. And you can see like I'm really glistening. And then I've got my fan because you guys have seen this before. I am like super extra, but I love it. I like the feel. It feels so refreshing, so I could really feel it like setting into the skin. And I feel like it actually smooths it even more, if that's even possible, because when I first put it on, I feel like it's already smooth. And then at the very end, what I do is my finger, I'll kind of go around and make sure everything is in. Some people have done like where they do the beauty blender, the dampened beauty blender. I actually like it not doing that. Like I feel like I don't need to remove any excess at all. So like for me, this works like this, but you're going to have your own technique, and that whatever it is that you like, there's no right or wrong way of putting this on. It literally is customizable to what you're looking for, the kind of coverage that you want, whether, you know, light to full, and also the coverage can be customized as well, pinpoint coverage and spot correction. It's fantastic. So thanks for hanging out with me again today. I am really excited that we have this growing community, and I love that you guys are coming back to watch my videos. All of my links are down below. So all of the shades, the makeup, and my link tree is down there. That is where you can contact me directly. You can leave a comment here, of course, and I will be more than happy to answer any questions that you have. But my link tree has everything there. It has the shopping links. It has the color, like the second tab is to get a color match where you submit a selfie, makeup free, so I could see your undertones. We do also have, if you go into the Shop Seint tab and you go into my site, we do have pre-made collections where you could actually, if you wanted to try the makeup without submitting a selfie, you can do that instead and look at the collections, and it has examples of skin tones and it tells you what the colors are, and you could kind of closely match like what your skin tone is and get a pre-built collection with 4 shades, 8, 12, you know, whatever. They have all the options. And also on my link tree, you'll see a little envelope icon right at the top. That is my direct email. If you want, if you have like a longer message and you want to ask me anything, I'd be more than happy to help you with your skin or any questions about makeup or what have you. So once again, have a wonderful day, a wonderful evening, whenever you happen to be watching this, and I will see you again next time.